Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We're going to have a great show for you today. It's sort of an unscripted show, and it turns out that I'm kind of like behind. Why am I behind? I'm one computer short because it is packed up, ready to go to Netroots Nation 2019. Whoa, did I really forget that we were not in 2018 but 2019? How time is flying. Time is flying, folks. But we are going to have a great show for you today. Today it's going to start with an experience. It's going to start with an experience that I want you guys to have with me as we go on. Anyhow, how's your day going? What do you think about what's going on today? Are we going to have a great time or what? Since I'm one computer short, I'm queuing these things up as I speak. I'm looking at it as I speak, and it's turned out that working on one computer is a bit slower than working on the other, having the other one to do these postings as well. Anyhow, what is our show going to be about today? I will tell you what our show is about today as soon as I am able to pull it up on this one computer, since that is what we're running on today. Just one computer. Anyhow, as it scrolls, as it comes up, I'm able to tell you that the title of our show today is My Visit to a Pawn and Gun, Democratic Timidity and OAC on RIP's fundraising. And here's the deal. I just got home probably about an hour ago, and I had to do quite a few things before getting in here and kind of queuing the show up. But I can tell you one thing. So I hadn't, I was supposed to go ahead and get a copy of AOC's tweet itself to find it. So if somebody's there before I find it, look it up. She made a tweet with regards to fundraising, how she doesn't have to do it while the other reps doing it, because, she knows how to do it, which she knows how to do it. Anyhow, title of the show, My Visit to a Pawn and Gun, Democratic Timidity and OAC on reps. Now, why does this really matter? Why do I think this is such an important topic? First of all, I'm not going to talk about AOC right away, but what I want to talk about it being an important topic is this. I was talking to a consultant last week, and he is running the campaigns of about, I guess he has 4 or 5 people under his belt right now. And he started to explain to me what these guys have to do in Washington. And I'll be frank with you. After listening to what they have to do in Washington to raise money, I feel sort of bad, because it is almost like you're running a campaign, you win, and it never ends. Immediately, and you hear this on TV all of the times, but you don't feel it or you don't see it until somebody involved is really doing it. But anyhow, the subtitle of the show, A Pawn and Gun Shop Saved the Day of This Progressive Who Hates Guns. Democratic timidity could be fatal this cycle if not arrested. OAC tweet on reps fundraising is deep. So how do we start here? I want to start with my adventure today. As you guys know, tomorrow I head off to Philly for the Netroots Nation 2019. Now, don't despair. We're going to have a live Politics Done Right on KPFT right in Houston before I take off. Not letting that go. So at 3 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific, 2 o'clock Mountain. Politics Done Right will be on KPF Pacifica's network, KPFT 90.1 FM, Houston on 90.1 FM, or of course on all the YouTube channels and Periscope and Facebook that we carried on, as well as the streaming directly from the radio. So we're going to have a show tomorrow. But today, I spent a whole lot of the last week getting ready for the show, staging what my the Politics Done Right booth is going to look like, etc., etc. I was almost done. I finally got all the hardware packed into a safe hard case, etc. And I pulled down the thing. You guys know that thing that I built, and I don't know if all of you saw it yet, but let me go ahead and put it up, give you a picture of what Politics Done Right is sort of going to look like. The table out there at Netroots is bigger, and not only is it bigger, but it should be more spacious, and the lighting should be better than what I could get in my little workout room there. But anyhow, this is what that is what we're going to look like, right? We have our back panel with the Politics Done Right, and we have the several cameras for a few different angles and for backup, etc. We have the new computer that I want to thank all of you guys that are continuing to contribute to the Politics Done Right GoFundMe for what you're doing. It is imperative. We went ahead and got the one of the PCs, one of the laptops before we got funding for it, because we just knew you guys were going to come through, and you are, as we speak, coming through. So I thank you so kindly for going to the Politics Done Right GoFundMe and taking care of all this hardware that we need. The laptop, we're kind of deficient one other high-speed computer for the processing of the graphics, but I'll do the best I can out there with the extra laptop that I have there. I really needed to have that other panel out there, but you know, couldn't handle it this time. But anyhow, that is what it's going to look like. For those of you who are on the screen, for you who on podcast, let me tell you how it looks. We have the back panel with Politics Done Right all over the place, and then we have the table, and on the table we have the two computers, and we have several stands with the with our cards and that sort of stuff. The politics, as I see it, book is on the table, and we have the several cameras out there. Anyway, all of that had to be transferred into one person on an airplane with all the available luggage that he can carry on without paying an extra $200 per luggage. So which means I have the capacity to carry 200 log on, 100 pounds on the deck, and of course stuff as much as I can into my computer backpack and my carry-on luggage. So all of that has to fit. Well, I got all of the hardware fit into that case, maximum size. After I did that, it was time to pull down that back screen that you see there, and I pulled that back screen down, and I was sort of happy because it was moving very smoothly, and we were about to get everything done. You know, we were about to go ahead and get, you know, it seems like everything was going to fit. Then I opened the bag and I tried to put it in, and oh my God, the poles were too long. Even though they were telescope poles, they were just too long, and it didn't fit. And this is yesterday, Sunday, that I pulled it down and started working on it. It's Sunday evening. Stupid me, I know, guys. I should have done that way before. Anyhow, after doing that, got up this morning. I knew I had to get a couple of blogs done, and as soon as I had the blogs, I had to go to the store to find something that I could put on the airplane that could take care of business for me. Okay, so what did I do? The first place I headed to was, I took off and I went to Academy. It's a sports store. They had nothing. I went to Wally World. Okay, guilty. I went to Walmart and Sam's, one corporation that isn't very solid with its employees, but still have to shop there sometimes. And the reason why also is I want to support those people that still have jobs. These people don't have anywhere else to go, so you have to do a little bit of support. So there's a balancing act to do there when we have to decide how punitive we're gonna be. But anyhow, Walmart had some bags that almost made it. The duffel bag almost was big enough, missed it by 4 inches. So I'm at a loss now, people. I'm at a loss. So I call a ski and something, Spa and Ski or Ski and something store. And they said, oh, yeah, we have cases that are long. It'll fit on an airplane, and it's a hard case, and it'll work for you. Not a problem. It's a good thing that I said, okay, great. Instead of just running to the Woodlands, which was about 20-something miles away, I said, okay, by the way, what is the price ranges on those cases? He said, well, the cheapest one is $169. I said, oh, really? I kind of knew right then and there it wasn't going to be the case that I was going to be getting. And since it's the lowest cost case, that option was not going to be available. So I started to think all kinds of options. Bubble wrap and put it into a long sheet and then just throw it on the airplane. And that was what I was going to do. I was going to just put those long poles, wrap them up in bubble, put them in something, and it was going to be inconvenient, get them on the airplane. But I kept on thinking and kept on thinking, kept on thinking. I said, what else? What else could somehow go on a plane? You know, people carry these things on planes all of the times. That'll fit. And I thought for a while, hey, I'm a guitarist, man. I can get me a guitar case. That thing is probably about the length of a long guitar. So I'll get the guitar case. And then the other option is a gun, a rifle, a case for a rifle. And I said, wow, wouldn't it be interesting if it is a case for a rifle that saves the day? So I'm driving down and I looked up on Google, okay, let's see which is the closest gun shop around. And I'm thinking, my God, imagine Egberto, this crazy liberal, pinko liberal going into a gun shop and shopping and all that kind of stuff, you know. So I looked it up and I found the gun shop. But interestingly, as I'm about to turn to the right to the gun shop, there's this big sign on the left about 500 yards away, a store 500 yards away in a strip mart that says pawn and guns. So the first thing that flashed in my head, hey, I better go to this place first because the gun shop may only have new cases. And the new cases may run me, I don't know, but if at Spa and something it was, you know, $169, I figured a gun shop would be in the $50 range because of the people that they normally cater to and the subdivision that I was in and all of that. I was hoping maybe $50 or so. And remember, I spend the subscription, I spend your subscription money and your GoFundMe money very efficiently because you worked for it so that I can bring you the real info. So I am very frugal. So I calculate how much gas is it going to take me to run over there? Is it worth spending an extra $5 here because the gas and time wouldn't be worth it? This time it was worth it. So I go out there and I saw that sign and I said, let me go to the pawn shop first. I'm going to go to the pawn shop first. It's called Pawn and Guns. Pawn and Guns. So I say I'm going to go to the pawns and guns first. So I went there. So I go in there and three young men are at the place and I said, hey guys, how you guys doing? Fine. And I said, hey, I am looking for a gun case. And I had all my poles that in the bag that it came with. I'm looking for a gun case that can fill all this stuff. And I think the guy said something to the effect like, I think we just got 2 of those things in. Probably meaning somebody just pawned 2 of those things recently. And apparently he remembered it. And lucky for me, that's a day that I am going out there to check this baby out. So I go out there and these are conservative young men. And, I went ahead and I go in there and right then my wife calls me. She wants to know where I'm at. And I'm saying, hey, you won't believe it. I'm at a gun shop, actually a pawn and gun shop. This guy who doesn't like guns, and it's a gunshot who's going to save the day. And the manager at the store, I think he was the manager, he was the older of the younger guys there. He said, you don't like guns? Why don't you like guns? And in his face, I could see that he was ready for a hard comeback or something because he probably expected me to act like maybe some crazy left-winger, which I was not going to do because you guys know me, that's not my behavior. So I went ahead and I said, hey man, it isn't that I am not talking about, whether you should have guns or not. I just don't like guns at all. He said, why? And then after he saw my tonality and he saw that I wasn't trying to be confrontational or anything like that, he wanted to, you could see that he wanted to entertain a conversation. And at least it looked to me like he wanted to entertain a conversation. So I started conversing with the guy and I said, well, you know, I mean, look, I'll be honest with you. The way I see it, people get guns in their homes, and the first thing that happens with guns is that if they get into an argument with their wives and things get out of control, the first person that gun gets used on is a loved one, and I wouldn't like that to happen. So you know, I'm just not comfortable with guns, but I made sure and catered. I mean, I said to him, I have no desire to stop you from having your gun. But I tell you one thing I wish more of you would do, and that is really start talking about not selling guns to folks that do the bad things. And he said, I am with you. I'm paraphrasing some of our conversation, but I mean, that is what he said pretty much, that, you know, he's with us as well. You know, that's what he feels. What I'm trying to tell you is that, you know, there's a hell of a lot more commonality, and the polls actually say that, right? That people want more gun control in the form of better, you know, knowing who has the guns, etc. They want background checks and all of that. That's what people want, you know. But here in Texas, I bet though that poll isn't as good as it is, because the guy looked at me and he said, you know, you're in Texas. This is a gun state. And I'm like, I know it's a gun state, but you know, we can do better. And we're conversing, and one of the guys tell me, I'm from Seattle, and you know, so I'm from really a very, very liberal state. But and he, you know, he's working at the gun shop, and he says, but you know, so I understand where you're coming from. And what I'm driving at is that we were able to sit down there as individual people, not coaxed by the NRA or anybody else, a conversation where he understood what I was saying, and he wasn't calling me a pinko liberal or anything like that. But I did look at him and tell him I'm a very progressive person, but I think we have to live in the same country, and I think you have the right to have the gun just as long as it didn't impact you. Now, the conversation went so well that the guy then took out his wallet and he wanted me to see his kids and show me his kids with the guns. Now, that could have had two reasons, right? One of the things is he could have wanted to see what my reaction would be when I see two kids with rifles. I'm going to tell you, I'm very good at not showing a whole lot of emotions unless I want it shown. And at first, I wasn't aghast, but in my first impression was like, why give the kids the guns? And then I started to do what I ask everybody to do more listening than talking. But not only doing more listening than talking, but also trying to see things through somebody else's eyes. And then after I try to look and see things through somebody else's eyes, the next thing that I try to do is rationalize what they're doing or what they're saying. What I mean by that is I try to find some way that I could say, well, I think I could agree with that because of X. So when he shows me the kids with the guns, etc., and personalizing it, I said, you know what? Let me back up and start thinking. And suddenly, that I got from seeing his kids with the guns that I didn't show went away. Because I kind of said something interesting. I looked and I said, you know what? Guns are not the only things that kill. AK-47 kills a whole lot and massively. We should do something about that. But guess what? These guys are not silly. They're big businesses in AK-47. It's those businesses that do that are the ones who create all the hoopla and want these guys to sell these things, you know? But these guys, I mean, if I'm at Martin Dice Park, a park that is full of alligators, and I'm in a little encampment with myself and my kids, my wife, etc., and another guy is at another encampment and he has a rifle, and again, like I tell you, I'm rationalizing for myself not to sit down and just be moralizing, okay? That's what I'm doing. So I sat back and I said, wait a minute. At that point, I would have loved to have that neighbor who is comfortable with that gun to shoot that crocodile or that lion or that whatever. Since I am an anathema to these guns and so forth, I would kind of want that guy to be around in that sort of position. So what we start realizing is that we don't want to like ban guns and hate guns and all of that. If you don't like guns, don't have one. If you like guns, be responsible with it and have the government make sure that it protects me, those of us that don't love guns, from those who may want to do shenanigans with guns. And this is not the middle ground. Everybody wants to talk about let's find the middle ground. This is not the middle ground. This is the ground. In other words, this is the ground. In a place where you have freedom to do things, there are people that like to do things that others don't like to do. Some people like to shoot. I don't. But I'm saying I don't. I may one of these days pick up a gun, go play a target practice and fall in love with the darn thing. After all, why are all these people in love with doing those things with the guns? I'm not talking about the crazies that want to use the Uzis and all of that. I'm talking about just regular folks, target shooting, all that kind of stuff. So today's experience was, I think I have to also consider it a learning experience. And the reason it was a learning experience is to see that these guys, because there's one thing that this guy taught me, the guy that would have been the manager, I think. And he said he's never had a conversation. First of all, he says he tries like hell not to talk into politics because anytime he goes into it, it gets mad, irate, etc. And I told him you have to stay and engage. You're a conservative, stay and engage. And he said, you know, he didn't hear liberals talk like me. He said, I've never heard a liberal talk the way I spoke to him, which in effect, that is because he's not around a lot of liberals. That is because he's not around a lot of progressives. And that is because the liberals and progressives that get the most airtime that are the ones who want to blow crap up. Just like the people on the right who want to do stuff are the people who want to blow crap up. And look, I think my ideology is best. I don't want to say right, but I think my ideology, our ideology, those of us that are progressives, are best for society at large. You know, and I think a lot of what we see between the fights that we have among these folks, even let's say these gun guys, that we are fighting about whether you should have guns or not. A lot of these issues could easily be resolved if that's not what we're talking about specifically. And what I mean by that is this. And the powers that be, the plutocracy knows this. If we are talking about guns and we make a big distinction about guns that really isn't there, we're there fighting about guns. If we're fighting about abortion as opposed to fighting about making life better for those people who are, or those women who are most likely to get pregnant, instead of making it aware for them on how they can avoid these particular issues, they've won. And that is exactly what they are doing to us right now. That is exactly the fights that we are having today. Our eyes are completely off of the ball. We are so concerned about these side issues, that we are completely missing the ball. We are completely missing that they are pilfering us. We are completely missing that they've designed a particular group of people to be the wards of the plutocracy. We are completely missing the indoctrination that has happened to so many. Many of them are friends. We have missed it. And if we were to start not allowing them, not giving them the space, not allowing them to do what they are doing because they are doing, as I am saying, they're doing. If we were to be able, and we can, if we were to stop and think for a while, just think for a while, why things are the way they are, we would immediately realize one thing, right? We would immediately realize that we are being played. And you know I speak about us being played a whole lot. But the forms in which we are being played are so insidious that the conversations that I had with the guys at the gun shop today, we would not have had. That the conversations many of us can have that are not having. Just think if we had not, or we do not allow ourselves to be the wards what I call the wards of the plutocracy, and I know many of your friends are, many of my friends are. But you know what? We don't have to live it. We do not have to live it. Now I want to find that article by, I think it's Grimm. You remember that guy that used to write for the Huffington Post? Grimm, I think it's Democratic Timidity. And I want to find that article because I started to read it. I didn't get a chance to read it completely, but it is, how should I say this the right way, Roy? How should I say this the right way? We ought to somehow start thinking the right way. Recently, Nancy Pelosi allowed a bill to go through. In effect, I think she forced. If I'm not mistaken, she forced it through. I think I don't want to be. I don't want to say things that I'm not completely sure about. But I'm almost sure that what they said was that she forced this bill through that put no protections to protect those kids at the border. No protection for the kids at the border. And you have to ask yourself, if we are to get moving forward, if we are to start rolling the ball, having folks come back to us, aren't we going to have to show them that for once we are not scared? Aren't we going to have to show them that for once, and I'm talking about Americans in general, for once we stand for something else? Because what is starting to happen, folks, is again and again and again, we're starting to repeat the same old mistakes. We're starting to repeat the same old mistakes that we did before. And we cannot do it. We cannot do it. We cannot keep doing that at all. I'm looking for that article right now because I really want to come out and find that article that Grimm was speaking about, the timidity of Democrats. And the reason I want to bring that up is not as a hit on Democrats, but it's about, if we really want people to vote for us, they have to be voting for something. And this stuff about going to the mythical center is going to get us in trouble. There is no center. There is absolutely no center. There's just what people want. And interestingly, the things that people want are the things most people call left wing. Oh my God, I cannot find that confounded article. I can't find that article, and I don't want to play a little, let's see, I can't find it. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. While I look for that, I want, this weekend, was it this weekend? Yeah, on Friday, I interviewed I interviewed Elizabeth Warren. Let me go ahead and play that as I try to find this thing. Let me go ahead and play that interview. Para ver si lo tengo aquí. Let's see, I think I have the Elizabeth Warren promo. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, let me go ahead and show you the interview that I did with her, coming up shortly as I am able to pull that interview into the fold. Here we go, right there. Oh, that's the wrong one, but I tell you what, I can play that one. Well, I can't play that one because it's not playing. So let's go ahead and try another one. I am sorry for not being completely not being completely on cue right now, but like I said, I was running all over the place trying to find all these things that we need. I think this one is it. I think I got it now. I think I can. I think I can.
Senator Warren, how do you intend to fight that moniker, the socialism moniker? Because we love what you have to say here. America loves what you have to say here. How do you specifically put it in a format that these folks can't use it against you?
So, here's what I've discovered. When I talk about a wealth tax, it's not just Democrats who say yeah. It's independents and a majority of Republicans who want to see us pass a wealth tax. They know that this economy is broken. When I talk about student loan cancellation for 95% of the folks who've got it, it's Democrats and Republicans who say, yeah, that's how government ought to work. When I talk about my consumer agency that I helped build, Democrats and Republicans say, yeah, it made things fairer and we don't get cheated as much by the big banks. We support that agency. I think the old ways of trying to do this as left-right are just that, old ways, and I don't think they're going to work. When we talk about real change that touches people's lives and hearts.
Okay, that was on Friday. Now, that is a woman that is really not going to buy into the mantra about, well, we have to take it slow. At least not, at least right now she isn't. Right now she is claiming that she is that she is serious about what she's talking about. And I have that whole speech at my website. It will be a good thing to go ahead and check out that speech. Her entire town hall was worth listening to, because she didn't only lay out the plans that she wanted to make or the changes that she wanted to make, and she calls it systemic change. She also points out that this is the way to pay for it. You know, one of the things that they always talk about is, how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for it? Well, there's a way to do it. And by the way, I'm at Daily Kos right now looking. They're requeuing our articles. Check out my article out there called "The Democratic Party's Leftward Move is Just the Correction of Fraud on Americans," and you'll see. I think it's an article that got some pretty good Q last night. So check it out. Okay, let's see. I'm still, as we speak, I'm still trying to find that article. I know it's there somewhere, but it's an important article that we need to get to. Let's see. Oh, after strong debate performance, Kamala Harris surges in the post-debate fallout cattle call. We knew she was surging. Let's see. Trump, that's New York, will have to release. I'm going to get to the AOC story in a minute, but I want to. I really want to see if I can come up with that timidity article, which, like I said, I didn't have the time to. I didn't have the time to get to it because of all the things. If you want to see why I've been so stirred up, by the way, this is a gun case that I bought at the place that you're seeing on the screen right now. That's a gun case that I have to hold all the poles that's going to hold up our banner at Netroots Nation tomorrow. And if you notice, I needed it with a whole lot of space because I have over 3,000 of those cards to give out when I get out there to Netroots Nation. So there are 3,000 of that, and I got to find some way to pack it. One person carrying all these cards and all that stuff. So anyway, so that is a gun case. I hope I have to seal it up. I hope the airport doesn't give me too much trouble. And how many of those things there are? Here is what it looks like. The whole stack of that has to get to Philadelphia, and that's what it looks like. For those of you who are listening to this on the podcast, folks, it's a ton of stuff that has to get out there. And a gun shop saved the day because they had a gun case that partially I could pack the poles in there and partially pack the other stuff. Since I don't have the Democratic Timidity thing, let me just make a couple of statements on what Grimm was trying to say. He was trying to say that he was trying to say that since that this timidity of Democrats started from the election of Ronald Reagan. They thought it was such a shocker for this actor to get elected. It got them gun shy. And from then on, Democrats have been a timid party. They could not get anything done. They were scared of their shadows, on and on and on. And you know what? The guy's right. The reporter's right. And now we have the newcomers, AOC and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and Ayanna Pressley and that young woman from California, the expert on finances. I can't remember her name right now. It is wonderful to see these young women. And if you notice, the ones that are challenging the system, the way things are, young women. It is great to see what is happening in America right now. We're the young women, and what we have to do in 2020 is not fall for the crap from the Democratic leadership of timidity. Oh, we cannot win if we do that. We have to go to the center. I want you all to remember, there is no center. Mark my words here. There is no center. The center is a figment of the imagination of a few. The center is the figment of imagination where the plutocracy can survive. And you know why the plutocracy survives at the center? Because the center serves no one. The center serves no one. The right serves a few and keeps other few riled up on emotional issues. And the left serves, look, the left serves everybody. And they're scared to death of the left because the left makes sense. The left is there to say, wait a minute, why is it that the wealthy gets rich off of the backs of others? And it's not socialism to ask that question. Why is it that wealth is defined as the excess labor of everybody else? There is no center, people. The center is there to maintain peace for the plutocracy. I want you all to remember that. The center, the sole purpose of the center is that nobody wants it and nobody can fight it. And every one of those politicians you hear saying, oh, you need to moderate, you need to move to the center. What they really mean is you need to kowtow to the plutocracy. That means that we want you to be at the center so that you can be manipulated on all sides by the wealthy, by the oligarchs, by the folks who run everything. And that's not what we want. When we ask Americans individually, when we ask Americans in polls what they want, and you've seen me write about this over and over again, what they ask for are the things that real people want. And the things that real people want, when explained truthfully, child care, Medicare for all, tuition-free university, college loan forgiveness, and I don't even want to call it college loan forgiveness. I like to call it college loan repair. Or we need to call it something that hits the bankers, the people who've been pilfering us for such a long time. Okay? So that is what we have. Mr. Ledo, yes, I did say conservatives get riled up about emotional issues. I did say that. Should I have, I don't even think we have to say much about that after Saturday. But anyhow, it is important. It is important that what we see, people, it's very important that what we see is that there's no center. And secondly, that most Americans will do well if the policies that progressives are putting out there are the policies that we force effected on the country. When I say force effected, I don't mean forced by force of people. I mean forced by we force the plutocracy not to stop it from occurring because the people already said they want it. The vast majority of Americans, 60% plus in every polls, want the ideas progressive have. If you simply remove a label from a policy, the policies that always win, and I've proven that empirically. I've sit down in a Starbucks and sat with one of the women from the Women of the Revolution or something like that, and we were sitting down talking to healthcare. And I explained, we were talking to healthcare, and she was talking about it, and I said, yeah, I wish we could do X, Y, Z. And she was agreeing with absolutely everything that I said, and it's funny because Egberto started to feel guilty because I'm like, I hope this woman just doesn't think she's talking to this conservative dude out here. And I just had to come clean. I'm like, look, I'm a real left-wing progressive. I'm a democratic socialist, but I'm not using that so often anymore because just the word stops people from conversing. I try to tell them what I stand for first, and then I tell them what that really represents. I explain the policies first, and then you can say, and if you want to label it, you can label it that if you want to. Because Americans are starting to get that they're being ripped off. There are no two ways about it. They're being ripped off. You know, So what happens is, no. Actually, you know, I've done enough of them to make them empirical, sir. Yes. But I think what you wanted to, you would have preferred if I had used the word anecdotal, but no, it's also at this point, with the amount of people that I speak to, empirical. Anyhow, there you go, Daniel, trying to hit me on the words again. Still love you, brother. Anyhow, on AOC now. AOC said something in a tweet, and I don't have her tweet right in front of me right now. I got a call, so I always bring in my callers when I have my callers. So caller, come on in. Caller, come on in. You're on.
Egberto?
Yes.
Egberto, this is Neil, and I am so glad that you are going to Philadelphia. There is no better representative for the freedom-loving people of Harris County than you in Philadelphia at the Liberty Bell at Independence Hall. So I am glad you're going there.
I so want to thank you for your kudos, my friend, and I wish you were there because you're giving me kudos. I want to give kudos to you. You are the person that has been...
No.
Well, let me finish, please. Let me finish, my brother. You have been out there. You have been out there at Cornyn's office for how many consecutive weeks? I am in awe of all our Houston progressives, all our Harris County progressives, and the amount of work you guys have done. And to the people listening in this country all over, I want to talk to you about people like Neil Aquino that's on the line right now. We turned Harris County blue. We took over Harris County because these people worked. I'm out here doing a little part. These people are doing their part. Come on in, Neil.
Well, let me say three very quick things. One, kudos to all the folks in their 60s and 70s who come out in the heat, block walk, and they're doing a lot of the work, and they don't get enough credit. So I've been increasingly focused on folks in their 60s and 70s and beyond who are doing a lot of the work. Secondly, I'm choosing, rather than focusing on the sort of dissing and disrespect from Miss Pelosi towards Miss Tlaib and Ocasio-Cortez and Omar and Miss Presley, I'm focusing on the example of leadership they're setting and asking, for example, if you're following Ocasio-Cortez and these folks, how are you translating it to your local Democratic Party? Do you see your local Democratic Party monitoring local immigration jails? Do you see them talking about economic fairness? Do you see them talking about climate justice? So, you know, don't get mad. Translate their leadership into your own local leadership while we still have the time. And lastly, I hope I could see you in Philadelphia and your words have such resonance that they may heal the crack in the Liberty Bell when you speak such truth in our great city of independence, Philadelphia. So have a safe trip, and thanks for leading the way.
Thank you very kindly, my brother. And I want to thank you and the entire crew, our crew. We are all teams. All of us play our part.
Yes, sir, that's true.
Nobody is an island. We don't survive without each other. And that goes for all Americans. And that is what I want to put out there to people, right? I am not good at taking kudos. I am good at giving kudos because that is where it belongs, where everybody else are doing their part. And I really want, Neil, look, I've spoken about you to a whole lot of other people in the kind of work that you're doing and others. And I've been talking about the Shuklas of the world and all these, and the Nisha Randalls of the world and all these women and very active women and men that are doing the job. And you guys are examples that I'm going to be talking about in Philadelphia.
Well, that's great. Well, you have thanks for everything. Have a safe trip.
Thank you, sir. You have a great day, my friend.
Bye. Right back.
Let me tell you something, folks. If you want to talk about leadership and activism, you're talking about... Okay. All right, Daniel. Let me tell you what Daniel just told me. You do realize that you jeopardize your credibility in all other things when you claim multiple conversations you had constitute empirical proof, right? Oh boy. Daniel, it's not only conversations, it's also polling. It's much more, sir. But I understand you want to concentrate on maybe hitting your friend. That's fine. I am more interested in getting things done. And my credibility, you know, most people believe the things that I say because I ask them to corroborate the things that I say. Those who choose not to believe me simply choose not to believe me because of who I am. But again, if they really want to know if what I'm saying is correct, I ask everybody to double check, triple check what I speak. By the way, I have made mistakes. And every time I've been found to have made a mistake in front of everybody, I will always come out and say, you're right. Someone called a short KPFT just this last Tuesday and said the same to me. He said, you are wrong about what you're talking about, the progressives that are running. And the young man who called was absolutely right. And right there on air, I told him, brother, you are right. I stand corrected. And we move on. That is how you gain respect. You don't gain respect from just spouting and thinking you're always right, because we're all fallible beings. We should all remember that. We're all fallible beings. And you can be fallible as well, Mr. Ledo. You can be fallible as well. Anyhow, going back to AOC. AOC sent out a tweet where she said, you know, most of these guys have to spend all this time fundraising, which is true. They spend all of their time on fundraising. My friend tells me, this consultant that I told you about, that in Washington, they are spending, including Nancy Pelosi, themselves on the phone, 4 hours a day. On the phone, just asking for contributions. I don't remember how many $1,000 he told me they're responsible for raising every single day, but it's a lot. But you know, it doesn't surprise me because I have a good friend here in Kingwood, and she is a master fundraiser here in Kingwood. And once we were talking, and she said, Egberto, you know, I didn't have a good day today. And it was during our fund drive at KPFT. And she said, we didn't have a good drive. So I said, oh, really? How much did you make? She said, this morning all I made was $5,000. I was like, what? This morning, for your party, you're one of their major fundraisers, you made $5,000 and you're unhappy? If we made $5,000 fundraising at KPFT every single morning, we would be able to have our fund drives probably 2 weeks, 3 times a year. Okay? That is what we're talking about here. We're talking about, that's the kind of, so when he told me that that's what they're raising, AOC came on and she complained. She said, you know what? They're spending all this time on the phone. I have my Twitter account, I tweet, I spend time in the community. That's how you raise funds, right? You start doing the job for people. You don't get this $10,000 check, or you don't have to call 50 people so that one of them give you $1,000 and the rest blow you off. You can have people saying, I want to invest in what you're doing for us. I want to invest in what you're doing for us because we know others are doing quite a bit more. But here's the other interesting thing, and I brought that up, and this is sort of self-serving the way I'm going to use this particular argument. And it goes like this, because it's important. When you see those mailers come from the presidential candidates, and it says, oh, Elizabeth Warren says this, or Elizabeth Warren da-da-da-da-da, or Harris or Buttigieg or whatever says some. I mean, these are all automated mails that somebody has been paid to send out, and that company that sends that out gets a particular cut. Even if it's a campaign, the sub-company that handles this get a big cut of that amount of donations that people send in. And then the big monies that these guys, Buttigieg just got $24 million. The big money that these guys get doesn't go to the block walkers and all these people that are sweating and doing a whole lot of the work. You have one consultant that for this month, they may pay him $15,000 for being a consultant in an ivory tower. That's your money. You remember how I complain about the insurance companies taking your money and spending the lease and then giving it away to the shareholders. The same thing, and this happens in the Democratic and Republican parties, right? You have all these high-paid consultants. They get $15,000 for the month. And remember, they're asking you, could you give us $3? Could you give us $2? Could you give us $5? And you give the $5 and the $3 and the $2 and the $5 and over again, because it's small incrementals monies. But they're doing that to hundreds of thousands and millions of people, right? So they're collecting a whole lot of money. And a lot of that money is not going to the grassroots efforts of the campaign. It's going to consultants. It's going to those humongous advertising budgets that the TV stations show, right? And you watch a commercial on TV. Most of the times, that's when you go to the bathroom, you turn it off. So it's a very wasteful way of spending your dollar to get the message out. How did I say this was self-serving? We have targeted audiences, right? That's a good thing about the way the media, the sub-media works now. We have targeted audiences. I can tell you about my audience. I have several thousand people that listen to the Viewcast every day. And we also have, of course, several tens of thousands of people that gets the emails and gets all these things. Targeted audience, people who have said they are into politics done right. They're into this type of stuff. We're targeted. But we know people are stressed to hell out with all the given to these different candidates or whatever. We are bottom on the totem pole. Well, you know, I just had to go ahead and give it to Buttigieg, and they have. You see how we are stewards of your stuff. I'm going to Philly. You know, Philly, we are asking folks to go to our GoFundMe to help with get this new computer to broadcast from Philly. We got one of the two that we need. Actually, we need the other one for doing more processing, graphic processing than anything. But, you know, it's funny because we're stewards. Today, I got an offer to get that case to take to, I'm asking people to go to the GoFundMe to spend this. Today, I'm getting an offer to get a hard case that costs $169. I said, hell no. I'm running around the place. I get to a pawn shop, and this is what I got. I got a gun case to carry the poles for that. This is what our setup, for those who are just joining us now, this is what our setup is going to look like in Philly. We have all the cameras, the things set up, the whole thing is set up for both Politics Done Right, KPFT, etc. All right? That all has to get to Philly. I am the only one taking that to Philly because our subscription rate does not yet allow me help to get these things to the places. I mean, ideally, I would have thrown this and shipped this over, and it would have been there by the time I got there. But that would have added another $1,000 to the price of the whole shebang. So we economize because it's your dollar ultimately that's going to be ensuring that we keep Politics Done Right alive. So we optimize what we do. So anyhow, these are all the flyers that we're giving out, flyers and stickers that we're giving out in the bags out there and that's huge. That's 30-something pounds of paper there to give out, right? And that's what we're doing. And I have to carry that in several cases on my back, and in that gun case that I got that I explained to you guys. I had the conversation with the folks at the gun store. Now, that's the efficiency we're talking about here. That is the efficiency of knowing that we have to be frugal with what you invest in. But when you're getting those emails every day from these corporations that are working for these candidates, most of that goes where? A $15,000 consultant here, a $10,000 consultant there, a $5,000 consultant there. Where do you get the most bang for your money? Folks, if we're to get our message out, it's not to make a whole, because, you know, those consultants really don't care who the hell wins. They're going to be making money no matter what. They're going to be making, they're like stockbrokers, right? You make money if the stock market goes up, and you make money if the stock market goes down. That's how they play. So we understand, though, and I'm talking about how I am doing this, right? But I can name you other small broadcasters, other small companies, other small radio shows, etc. This is the kind of stuff we do. We tag along with everything. We make it happen. We have to do it that way. And you know what? I tell you better. When we reach a certain point, do you think we're going to change that behavior? That kind of becomes a part of you. You know, it becomes a part of how you operate. So why am I telling you this? I want to remind you guys to please, there are several ways that you can contribute to Politics Done Right. Patreon.com/Politics Done Right. Again, that is patreon.com/Politics Done Right. For those of you who are listening on the podcast, it's on the radio right now. You can also donate at politicsdoneright.com/donate. Or you can shop at our store where you have a whole lot of good stuff, including, guess what? You also get our nice little Politics Done Right cup. You also have not only the Politics Done Right cup, you have the Politics Done Right t-shirt, all that good stuff. Wear it. And you know, if you're going to Netroots Nation and you come to me with a Politics Done Right t-shirt, I'll give you one of my As I See It book. But anyway, folks, look, it's so important for you to support us. Anybody who's supporting us immediately gets access to all the books that I write. Specifically, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's online for you to watch right away. So go to patreon.com/Politics Done Right, patreon.com/Politics Done Right. You also get to read where I am so far in my book, How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. And again, patreon.com/Politics Done Right. And of course, you guys know I've been, you know, a few years ago, had some terrible blood pressure scares, and I decided to write a book to tell about my experience, teach about my experience and how I solved it, but also to help raise some money for Politics Done Right. So please consider getting this, getting a subscription at patreon.com/Politics Done Right, or you can order all these books on Amazon.com and get Lose Weight and Be Fit Now, or As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. I want to thank you guys for listening to me today. Today was an unstructured show. I prepared absolutely nothing today because I was working all along, pulling things down to pack to get to Philly. Secondly, after the polls couldn't fit, I spent all morning and early afternoon running around Houston, northeast Houston, trying to find a case. And guess what I found? Like I told those of you who've been here before, a gun case is going to be packed with the poles that I need to pull my stuff up. In other words, in order for this to look like this, I had to be able to get some poles. The long poles, I had to get a container that could fit the long poles, that could fit on an airplane without charging me the $200 fee to carry an oversized package. And so that particular gun shop saved me. Remember again how we started the show? I had a great conversation with those folks at the gun shop. And you know what? I think, I don't want to be presumptuous, but I think they took a different opinion on just casting a shred of badness on liberals. I think all of us as progressives, as liberals, we represent by the way we represent. And let's try, I'm not saying don't cave into anybody, but let's try to put on that face that says, I don't agree with you, but I still love you. And I don't mean saying that just out of words. I mean saying that out of just loving humanity. Because that is where I'm at now, right? That is how I was able to overcome all my prejudices. And any new prejudices that show up, that is how I intend to overcome that prejudice as well. So rest assured that we will be fine. This is Egberto Willies. My name, no, that's not how I should say it, right? I should say it the right way. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I'm going to end this baby. I am what? I am out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3.